I never thought I'd be the kind of person who'd end up telling a story like this, honestly. Even now, part of me still wants to believe it didn't happen. But it did. I gave 3 years of my life to someone I trusted, someone I thought I was building a future with, and in the end, he stole from me, laughed at my pain, and left me feeling like I didn't even recognise the person I used to love. This isn't just a story about betrayal, it's about waking up one day and realising the person lying next to you is a stranger who never really cared about you the way you cared about them. So if you're listening, I hope you'll hear me, not just with your ears, but with your heart, because this isn't just about money. It's about what it feels like when your whole world collapses and you have to figure out how to stand back up again. Here's what happened to me and why I'll never be the same. When I think back to the beginning, everything felt so easy with Felix. We met through mutual friends, one of those casual game nights that turned into something more before either of us realised it. He made me laugh. God, he could make me laugh until my stomach hurt. We weren't some perfect fairy tale couple, but it was good. Real. We talked about everything. Stupid dreams, our favourite movies, what kind of dog we'd get someday, little things. But they felt big when it was with him. Even though we didn't officially live together, it felt like we did. His toothbrush was in my bathroom, his favourite hoodie draped over my couch. Most nights, he crashed at my place because it was closer to his job, and honestly, I loved having him there. It made the apartment feel warmer, less lonely. Money was tight for both of us, but we made it work. We'd take turns paying for groceries, split dinners, find cheap little date nights, like dollar movie theatres or late-night drives with no destination. We were building something, or at least I thought we were. I even started saving, quietly, bit by bit, for when we'd finally move into a better place together. It wasn't about the money, it was about the life I thought we were creating. Looking back now, I realise how much hope I packed into those days, how certain I was that we were on the same team, chasing the same dream. I had no idea how wrong I was, but back then, I was just happy. So happy. If I could freeze time, I would have kept us right there, in those small, messy, perfect moments before everything started to crack. But life doesn't give you warnings, not the kind you can see anyway. Sometimes the ground shifts under your feet. So slowly, so quietly, you don't even realise you're falling, until you hit the bottom. Looking back, there were signs, tiny things I brushed off, moments I should have questioned, but love makes you blind, and trust makes you deaf. I didn't know it yet, but the life I thought I was building with Felix was about to shatter, and it all started with a number on a screen. It started like any normal Friday. I had just gotten paid, and I needed to move some money from my savings to cover my car insurance. No big deal, just another adult chore, nothing out of the ordinary. I opened my banking app, and my heart stopped. My savings account, the one I'd been building for over a year, it was supposed to have close to $2,800, but the number staring back at me was $267. $267. I blinked, refreshed the app, closed it, opened it again. Like maybe, somehow, the numbers would rearrange themselves if I just looked at it differently. But they didn't. The world around me got weirdly quiet, like the sound got sucked out of the air, and all I could hear was my own heart pounding in my ears. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe the bank messed up. Maybe it was a glitch. Because it had to be, right? There was no way, no possible way, that money could just be gone. I called the bank in a panic, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. I stumbled through the security questions, barely able to breathe. And when the representative pulled up my account, I could hear the change in her voice. There had been a withdrawal. $2,550, 3 days ago. In person, at a branch across town. The blood drained from my face. I hadn't been to that branch in months. The rep asked, "Does anyone else have access to your account?" And that's when it hit me, like a punch to the stomach. Felix. Felix knew my phone password. Felix had seen me type my banking password. Felix had been staying at my place almost every night. I thanked the rep, or at least I think I did, and hung up. The room was spinning. I felt sick, physically sick. I tried calling Felix, straight to voicemail. I texted him, my fingers barely able to type, asking if we could talk. Hours went by. Nothing. I kept telling myself there had to be some explanation, an emergency, a misunderstanding, a surprise maybe, something, anything, other than the truth my gut already knew. That night, I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the walls close in, because deep down, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. I thought the worst part was over. I thought finding out the money was gone would be rock bottom. But I was wrong. So wrong. Because losing the money, that was just the beginning. The real betrayal, the part that would rip me apart, was still waiting for me, just around the corner. And when it hit, it wasn't just my savings that shattered. It was everything. Everything I believed about love, about trust, about us. I didn't know it yet. But the life I thought I was fighting to protect, it was already gone, and all it took was one look at a screen to destroy me. The next morning, I woke up after maybe 2 hours of restless sleep. My stomach was in knots, my heart pounding like it knew something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. I grabbed my phone, hoping, God, praying there'd be a text from Felix. Something, anything to explain this away. Nothing. The silence. It was deafening. Some stupid part of me thought, maybe I could find a clue on his Instagram. Felix almost never posted, but maybe this time he had. I opened his profile. Nothing new. Just the same few pictures from months ago. But then, I clicked over to his friend Andy's stories. I wasn't even thinking. Just scrolling on autopilot. And there it was. The image that shattered me. Felix, on a beach, tanned, smiling, his arm wrapped around a girl I had never seen before. The caption said it all. Day 2 of vacation vibes with these lovebirds. Lovebirds, plural, like it was some cute little inside joke. My breath caught in my throat. I could barely process it. I kept swiping. Picture after picture, Felix and her, laughing in the sun, drinks in hand, tangled together like a couple straight out of a damn honeymoon ad. And there, in the tags, Cancun, a luxury resort. Exactly the kind of trip that would cost about $2,500. My $2,500. Gone. Used to fund a romantic getaway with a stranger, while I sat at home crying and wondering what the hell happened. I don't even remember dropping my phone. 1 second I was staring at the screen. The next I was curled up on the bathroom floor, shaking, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. 3 years. 3 years of love, trust, dreams, sacrifices, wiped out in a single swipe. And the worst part? I still kept hoping it wasn't true, that there was some explanation, some mistake, because facing the truth, that he could do this to me, so easily, so casually. It broke something inside me that I don't know will ever fully heal. I stayed on that floor for hours, too numb to move, too devastated to even scream. Because in that moment, I realised it wasn't just the money, it wasn't just the cheating, it was the brutal, undeniable truth. Felix never loved me the way I loved him, and now there was no going back. Somewhere deep down, I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. The confrontation, the moment when I'd have to look him in the eyes and see who he really was. Not the Felix I loved, not the Felix I built my future around, but the Felix who stole from me, lied to me, and didn't even bother to hide it. I wasn't ready. I didn't feel strong enough. But it didn't matter, because he was coming home, and whether I was ready or not, we were about to have the conversation that would tear the last pieces of us apart. There's a kind of silence, a heavy, humming silence, right before everything explodes. That's where I was, sitting in my living room, waiting for the boy I used to love, knowing that tonight I would lose him for good. When I heard the key turn in the lock, my whole body went rigid. It was like every nerve in me snapped to attention, bracing for impact. Felix walked in, tanned and smiling, duffel bag slung over his shoulder like he had just gotten back from a weekend fishing trip, not from betraying everything we built. He dropped his bag by the door, looked right at me, and had the audacity to say, "Hey, babe." I didn't move. I didn't smile. I just stared at him, holding my phone in my hand, with Andy's Instagram story queued up, ready to play. "Where have you been?" I asked. My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was too calm, too steady. He blinked, caught off guard for half a second. Then he shrugged like it was no big deal. "Out with the guys. Just needed a break." I didn't say a word. I just hit play. The video looped. Felix with his arm around Jasmine, laughing under the Cancun sun. Vacation vibes with these lovebirds. The smile slid off his face. Not into guilt, not into shame, into annoyance. He rolled his eyes, like I'd just caught him sneaking the last slice of pizza, not stealing my money and taking another woman on a luxury getaway. "You're being dramatic," he said, reaching for a beer from the fridge like this was nothing. "She won some tickets, needed someone to go with her. It's not a big deal." I stood there shaking, not from fear, from rage. "You used my money, Felix," I said, my voice cracking. "You stole from me." He popped the cap off his beer, took a long drink, and shrugged again. "You'll get over it," he said. So casually it felt like a slap across the face. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I laughed. A short, broken laugh. The kind that sounds more like a sob. "Was it worth it?" I whispered. "Was Cancun and Jasmine worth everything we had?" He didn't answer, didn't even look at me, just muttered, "It's not like you were going to find anything decent with that money anyway." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just bad judgment. This was who he was. Selfish, cruel, capable of stealing from me, betraying me, and then laughing in my face like I was the crazy one for caring. I felt something inside me break, the last thread snapping. "Get out," I said, my voice low and shaking with fury. "Get the hell out of my apartment." He had the nerve to argue. Said his place was far. Said he had work in the morning. I didn't care. Not anymore. I didn't owe him comfort. I didn't owe him a damn thing. He finally grabbed his bag, grumbling under his breath about how impossible I was, how Jasmine wouldn't have acted like this. And as the door slammed shut behind him, I collapsed on the floor, sobbing, shaking, utterly, completely broken. Because in that moment, I realised I hadn't just lost my money, I had lost the man I thought I knew. I had lost the future I thought we were building. And worst of all, I had lost the part of myself that still believed in him. You'd think once he was gone, it would get easier, that the worst part was over, that the pain would start to fade, even just a little. But it didn't. It only changed, shifted, from sharp, blinding heartbreak into something quieter, heavier, like a weight I couldn't put down, no matter how hard I tried. The silence in my apartment was deafening. The empty spaces he used to fill, they screamed louder than any fight we ever had. I kept waiting for the relief to come, for the anger to settle, for the sadness to ease. Instead, something else started creeping in. Shame, humiliation, the crushing realization that while I was sitting here in pieces, Felix was out there, laughing. And soon enough, I'd find out just how much they all had to say about me. A few days after Felix walked out of my life, Carla practically dragged me out of the apartment. "You need air," she said. "You need to see that the world is still spinning." I didn't want to go. Every part of me wanted to stay hidden, curled up under my blankets, pretending none of this was real. But I let her pull me out anyway. Maybe part of me hoped, for just a few hours, I could forget how broken I felt. We ended up at a bar downtown. Trivia night, cheap drinks, bad music. It should have been easy, light, forgettable, and for a little while, it was. I actually laughed. A real, messy, God, I needed that kind of laugh, when Carla completely butchered the answers to the music round. For the first time in days, I felt something close to okay, until I got up to use the bathroom. When I came back, I froze. There, across the room, was Felix, surrounded by Andy Morris and a few other guys from his friend group, laughing, drinking. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't stolen from me, lied to me, humiliated me. I tried to shrink back, to disappear into the crowd. But Andy spotted me, his face lit up, not with friendliness, but with this smug, mocking grin, like he was looking at a joke, not a person. He sauntered over, loud enough for half the bar to hear. "Oh, look who it is," he sneered, "still crying over your little piggy bank." I felt Carla tense beside me, but I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Felix noticed the commotion and started walking over, Morris and the others following like vultures circling a dying animal. "You need to relax," Andy said, laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. "It's not like he spent your money on drugs, just a little vacation with a hot girl. Any guy would have done the same." I opened my mouth, tried to say something, anything, but the words stuck in my throat. Felix stood there, close enough to touch, and didn't say a word. Not to defend me, not to apologise, not even to look ashamed, and then a female voice behind me. I turned, and there she was, Jasmine, the girl from the beach, the girl he chose over me. She looked me up and down like I was something she found stuck to the bottom of her shoe. "This is the one you're crying over?" She laughed. Pathetic. The word hit harder than any slap. Pathetic. Like I was some joke, like everything I'd worked for, every piece of my heart I'd given him. But meant nothing. I barely heard what happened next. Carla pulling me away, the guys laughing behind us, Jasmine's voice, floating through the air like poison. "Seriously, $2,000? That's what you're crying about? Sad." My vision blurred. The bar spun. I stumbled outside into the cool night air, collapsed against the side of the building, and finally let the tears come. Carla held me while I broke apart all over again. And standing there, in the dark, I realised something I hadn't wanted to face until now. They weren't just laughing at what Felix did to me, they were laughing at who I had been to trust him at all. That night, after the bar, something inside me cracked open, but not in the way it had before, not like breaking, not like falling apart. This time, it felt different, sharper, colder, like the part of me that still wanted to believe in him finally died. I wasn't just heartbroken anymore. I was angry, not the loud, messy kind of anger, but the quiet, dangerous kind, the kind that builds, the kind that makes you stop crying and start planning. I knew then, if I wanted to survive this, really survive it, I couldn't sit around hoping he'd wake up and realise what he'd done. I had to save myself, and that meant cutting him out of my life, completely. No second chances, no explanations, no more waiting for an apology that would never come. It was time to take back what was mine, piece by broken piece. The next morning, I woke up different. Not better, not healed, but sharper. Like someone had pulled me out of the wreckage and handed me a knife. No more crying, no more hoping he would magically fix it. He wasn't coming back to save me. He was the thing I needed saving from. I got out of bed, for the first time in days, without feeling like my body was made of lead. And I started making a list, not a mental one, an actual list, pen to paper, real, tangible. Change the locks, close the bank account, get a new phone number, move out, erase every trace of him from my life, one step at a time, one little victory after another. Carla showed up with coffee and that fierce look she gets when she's ready to burn the world down for me. We spent the whole day going through my apartment, packing up every piece of Felix that was still clinging to my life. His hoodie? Gone. His old video games? Gone. The toothbrush he left in my bathroom? I snapped it in half and threw it in the trash without blinking. It felt petty. It felt stupid. It also felt amazing, like scrubbing a stain out of your favourite shirt, one you thought you'd never get clean again. Next came the money, what little I had left. I went to the bank and opened a new account at a different branch, one Felix would never even think to look at. I changed every password, set up two-factor authentication, locked down every part of my life that he once had easy access to. I even bought a cheap doorbell camera and set it up outside my apartment, because as much as I wanted to believe he would leave me alone, some part of me knew better. Felix wasn't the kind of storm that passed quietly. He was the kind that circled back, over and over, until you built something strong enough to keep him out for good. And that's exactly what I was doing. I wasn't fixing what he broke. I was building something new, something he could never touch again. Piece by piece, I was taking my life back. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I actually believed I could. For a little while, I thought maybe I had made it through the worst. I was rebuilding my life, step by step, finding pieces of myself I thought I'd lost forever. But monsters don't just disappear when you shut the door. Sometimes they find a new way in. Felix wasn't done. Not even close. What came next wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a whole new nightmare. The apologies, the manipulation, the desperation that twisted into something darker. Something I never thought I'd have to face. I thought surviving the betrayal would be the hardest part. I was wrong. The real fight was just about to begin. At first, it was just a text, a new number, one I didn't recognise. We need to talk. No hi, no apology, just that. I didn't respond, blocked it immediately. An hour later, another number. You're being childish. It's just money. I said I'd pay you back. I blocked that one too, but he kept finding ways. New numbers, new accounts, emails, DMs from fake Instagrams with no profile pictures. It was like swatting flies in the dark. Every time I blocked one, another popped up. I couldn't keep up. And then he showed up. Not at my apartment. Thank God I'd already changed the locks. But at my job. I was in the break room, trying to force down a granola bar, when I heard someone say, "There's a guy asking for you at the front." My stomach dropped. I peeked around the corner, and there he was. Felix, looking like a mess, bags under his eyes, unshaven, wearing the same hoodie he used to leave on my couch, holding flowers. I ducked back, heart racing. My supervisor saw my face and asked if I was okay. I told her, not everything, but enough. She walked out there and told him to leave. He didn't fight it, just stood there looking confused, like he was the victim in all this. That night, a bouquet showed up at my apartment building's front desk. No name, no card, but I knew. The next morning, I walked out to find my car had a flat, not a nail, not road debris, a small clean puncture right in the sidewall. Intentional. I couldn't prove it was him, but the timing, it felt like too much of a coincidence. I didn't go home that night. I packed a bag and stayed at Carla's. We sat in her kitchen, both of us quiet, until she finally looked at me and said, "You need a plan, a real one. He's not letting go." And she was right. Up until that point, I'd just been reacting, blocking, running, hiding. But now, I had to think ahead, because Felix wasn't just heartbroken. He wasn't just sorry. He was unravelling, and I was in his way. There's a moment, right after fear fades, when clarity hits like cold water to the face. That was me, sitting in Carla's kitchen, staring at a mug I wasn't drinking from, and realising something I hadn't let myself admit until then. Felix wasn't going to stop, and I wasn't scared of him anymore. I was done being scared. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd hide forever. He thought I'd fall apart and stay broken. He didn't realise I was already rebuilding. And now it was my turn to move first. Not out of panic, not out of heartbreak, out of strategy. This wasn't survival anymore. This was extraction. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Not because I needed rest, but because I needed time to make my next move. Enough was enough. This wasn't just about avoiding him anymore. This was war, and wars aren't won by hiding. They're won by planning. Carla and I sat at her kitchen table, not crying, not panicking, strategizing. We made a list, a real one, not just what to block or delete, but how to erase him from my life completely and permanently. Step 1. Housing. I called my landlord and explained everything. Not every painful detail, just enough. To my surprise, she was human. She agreed to let me break the lease early, 30 days, not 60. Step 2. Money. I went back to the bank, the new bank, sat down with the manager and locked down every financial corner of my life, double-checked every name tied to my accounts, froze my credit, ran a report. Thank God, he hadn't gotten that far. Step 3. Evidence. Every voicemail, every text, every weird DM and burner phone number, saved, time-stamped, backed up. I wasn't going to press charges, not yet, but I wanted the option. Step 4. The exit. Carla, August and I picked a Tuesday, the one day we knew Felix worked a double shift at the warehouse. We had 3 hours to pack everything. No second trips, no delays. I didn't want to breathe the same air one more night. We moved like soldiers, clothes, books, documents, trash bags full of memories I didn't need anymore. My new place was a tiny studio across town, just enough space for a mattress, a desk, and peace. And for now, peace was everything. Then, something unexpected. August texted me. Heads up, he just left work early, said he was feeling sick. My heart skipped. We weren't done yet. We threw the last boxes into the back of August's truck. I slammed the door shut just as Felix's car pulled into the lot. He slowed, confused. Then realization hit his face. He wasn't coming home. He was being erased. We pulled out. He jumped out of the car, yelling my name. I didn't look back. That night, I slept on the floor of my new apartment. Just a mattress, a pizza box, and the sound of nothing. No keys turning, no tension, no shadow behind the door. For the first time in weeks, I exhaled. This wasn't the end of the story, but it was the first time I felt like the author again. He didn't destroy me. He woke me up, and I wasn't running anymore. They say karma takes time, but sometimes, if you sit still long enough, you can watch it work. It started slow. A few missed calls, a desperate voicemail, then silence. And for a moment, I thought maybe he'd finally let go. But monsters don't disappear. They decay. And when they do, they rot from the inside out. Words started trickling in. Felix was falling apart. Jasmine dumped him. His friends, the ones who laughed at me, started pulling away too. His job, on thin ice. His rent, overdue. And for the first time, he wasn't the one walking away. He was the one getting left behind. I didn't smile. Not really. But something in me finally exhaled. Not because I wanted to see him suffer, but because I needed to know. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the problem. He was always the storm. I just finally found the door. The days after the move were quiet. Almost too quiet. No new numbers, no voicemails, no banging on my door. For a second, I thought maybe he'd finally accepted it was over. But I should have known better. Felix wasn't done. He was just unravelling somewhere I couldn't see. It started with a message from August. Just a heads up. Felix's life is kind of imploding. Apparently Jasmine found out everything. Not just the Cancun part, all of it. The lies, the theft, the fact that we were never just roommates. She cut him off. Cold. Then his parents pulled the plug. No more car insurance. No more phone plan. No more bailout boy. And when he finally couldn't pay rent, he moved back in with his mum. I found out through her, actually. She reached out again, asked if we could meet so she could return some of my things. Old books, a sweater, a necklace I hadn't even realised I left behind. We sat across from each other at a little cafe. She looked tired, older than I remembered. She didn't defend him, didn't make excuses. She just said quietly, "He's angry, at everyone, but mostly at himself. I'm sorry, he wasn't raised this way." And for the first time, I believed her. Not that she'd raised him better, but that she knew now what he was capable of. I left the cafe and sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel, feeling this weird mix of closure and emptiness, like I'd been bracing for a final battle and instead found a boy who had already lost. But that night, it got darker. I was grocery shopping, just minding my business, when I saw Morris, one of Felix's friends, watching me from across the produce section. Not saying anything, just staring, like he didn't know whether to wave or hide. When I left the store, Andy was in the parking lot, but this time, he didn't smirk. He didn't mock. He apologised. Said Felix had been acting off, angry, unhinged, borrowing money from everyone, punching a hole in Maurice's bathroom wall, and worst of all, talking like I was coming back, like we were still just on a break. That night when I got home, there was a package by my door. No return address. Inside, $500 in cash, and a letter. The handwriting was Felix's, rambling, desperate. He wrote about selling his game console, doing therapy, getting a side gig with DoorDash, said he was trying, that he missed me, that he'd made a mistake. But it wasn't just guilt on the page. It was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of consequences. Fear that maybe this time he really had gone too far. Later that night, my phone rang. Unknown number, and against my better judgment, I answered. It was him, slurring, crying, begging. I sat there, in my dim little apartment, listening to this man break apart on the other end of the line, and I didn't feel pity. I felt done. So I said nothing, not a word, just quietly ended the call and blocked the number. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because I didn't need to hear him fall apart. I was too busy putting myself back together. It's been a few months now, and if you asked me to name the exact day it stopped hurting, I couldn't, because healing doesn't happen all at once. It comes in whispers, in mornings where you wake up and realise you didn't think about him at all the night before. It comes in grocery trips without panic, in laughter that feels real again, in moments of quiet where the silence no longer feels like punishment. I redecorated my new place, painted the walls warm, bought plants I used to think I couldn't keep alive. Spoiler alert, they're thriving. So am I. I don't flinch when my phone rings anymore. I don't double-check my locks 5 times before bed. I sleep through the night. I wake up with peace. I started running again, joined a small book club, even flirted with someone new, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to. And that's everything. I wanted to. I chose it. I chose me. Felix was a storm, loud, violent, all-consuming. But me, I was the house that didn't fall. He tore through, but he didn't destroy me. I rebuilt, stronger, braver, wiser. And now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the girl who begged for someone to love her back. I see a woman who saved herself. I used to think Felix was the love of my life, but I was wrong. The love of my life is me. Sometimes the person you love the most becomes the lesson you never saw coming. And when that happens, when someone you trusted breaks you in the quietest, cruelest ways, it's easy to believe the best parts of you are gone forever. But they're not. You are not what they did to you. You are not the silence they left behind. You are not the scar. You are the survivor. Healing takes time. It's slow, uneven, sometimes invisible. But one day you'll look in the mirror and see someone who didn't just survive heartbreak. You outgrew it. So if you're still in the dark right now, please know the light isn't behind you. It's within you. And when you're ready, it will shine again, brighter than ever. Because the real love story was never about them. It's about you coming home to yourself. Thank you for staying with me through this entire story. If any part of it reminded you of your own pain, your own strength, or your own journey, please know you're not alone. Healing isn't linear, but the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still listening, means you're already stronger than you realise. If this story meant something to you, even just a little, I hope you'll stick around for more, because sometimes the right words at the right time can make all the difference. Take care of your heart. It's been through a lot, and you're doing better than you think.